Buttigieg wanted to be the president. He settled for Secretary of Transportation, which is an important job, but not quite commander-in-chief. Since he took office, we've had a supply chain crisis and air travel disasters, and now another train derailment. Some on the left want him to run for president again, and some on the right want him out as Secretary of Transportation. Most of us just want people to do their jobs competently. And joining us now is Florida Senator Rick Scott. Senator, thank you so much for joining us on a Sunday night. Secretary Buttigieg concedes he did not handle the situation well. I think he's referring to the optics, not the actual derailment. He blames Republicans for the disaster. What saith you?
You know, I was governor of Florida. We had 4 hurricanes. We had a terrorist attack. We had a mass school shooting. And what you do is you immediately show up. And you show up because you can provide resources. You show up because your citizens say, hey, I need this or I need that. You get way better information when you're on the ground. I'm a business guy. What you do is you show up. You show up and say, what do you need? What information do you need? What resources do you need? Buttigieg, whether it's the supply chain or it's the FAA problems or it's this, he's more focused on being on television than he is by solving problems. And I can't believe the president left the country with this disaster without going there and saying, what can I do to be helpful? So that's exactly what you do. You go to solve problems. You don't do more television. Buttigieg he's just a television personality now.
All right, well, let me ask, whether it's Pete Buttigieg or anyone else, I mean, what precisely do you think? Let's assume Rick Scott's the president. What are the qualifications for being a transportation secretary? Because near as I can tell, the best way to get into the cabinet is to run for president and lose or be a big donor. I mean, what in the world were Pete Buttigieg's qualifications to be the Secretary of Transportation?
He has none. I mean, what you'd want is somebody that had a background in transportation and somebody that had a background of solving problems. He doesn't have a background in solving problems. He doesn't have a background in transportation. And he's not done his job. I don't think he has any idea how to do the job or want to do the job. He just wants to be on television. But this makes you mad because our job, and it should be at the state, federal, local level. I mean, show up. Organize the resources. We represent every American. It doesn't matter whether they voted for us or not. Our job is to represent them and do the best job we can. And you do it by getting there and getting good information and giving the people good information and solving problems.
I think, if I read correctly, there may have been a little dust up between Secretary Buttigieg and you and your colleague from Florida, Marco Rubio. Maybe it was over Twitter. He claims that Republicans sided with the rail companies and therefore compromised safety. What do you say about that?
Absolutely not. First off, there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. The rail company's responsible for this. But in the meantime, okay, everybody should do everything they can. Don't worry about pointing fingers. You worry about solving problems. What I'm disappointed about is anybody that had the opportunity, had the resources, and didn't show up to help. Who do we always admire? The person that shows up and says, what can I do to be helpful? So whether it's the train company, state, local, and federal officials, everybody ought to be all hands on deck and say, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And stay there until it's solved. We should make sure every citizen feels comfortable with the air, with the water, with the cleanup, whatever issue they have. It's a responsibility of government to give them good information. It's a responsibility of the train company to do everything they can to fix the problem.
I think you anticipated my last question, Senator. You were the governor of a state that is a beautiful state, but it does have natural disasters, and you elect to visit because it helps you gain information. What is kind of the process you go through to decide whether or not this event would benefit from my presence or would I be a distraction?
You go there as quickly as you can. All right, there's always a safe way to doing it. But whether it was the terrorist attack at the Pulse nightclub, the school shooting in Parkland, or whether the 4 hurricanes or tornadoes, you get there as quickly as you can and you say, what do you need? And you talk to as many people as possible. And but there's always things that you can anticipate. And by the way, if you had a background in doing this, right? You would know what to do. There's a lot of information you've got to get out to people, and you've got to share information. And by the way, everybody's got different resources. Somebody's got to organize them. Buttigieg could have been doing that. He could have been doing that from day one. He should have been there right off the bat, solving problems.
Well, let's hope he gets off Twitter and goes to East Palestine. Thank you so much, Senator Scott, for joining us on a Sunday night.